Thanks so much for joining us. Let's talk about how we can help our planet simply by making better choices on the types of foods we eat. So there's a fascinating study, it just came out in 2018, that talks about what are the impacts on the environment both now and in the future, and what happens with the food choices we make that can help or hurt what we end up doing. So let's take a look in the past about what's been happening so far. According to the data, in 2010, we were emitting 5.2 billion tons of carbon dioxide equivalents from the food system alone. And global cropland, remember, good quality land is in short supply. Global cropland accounted for 12.6 million kilometers squared. And when you look at fertilizer usage, 104 teragrams of nitrogen and 18 teragrams of phosphorus was being used via fertilizers alone. So, in 2050, if we keep going the way we're going, first of all, the population is expected to increase by about 8.5 to 10 billion. Greenhouse gas emissions are expected to go up by 87%, and a 67% increase in cropland, 65% increase in water usage, 54% increase in phosphorus, and 51% in nitrogen. Remember, phosphorus and nitrogen is in the form of fertilizers. Now, if you look at the environmental pressures and you say, what is accounting for the biggest impact on greenhouse gas emissions? Well, it's no surprise that it tends to be animal meat, right? So animal products specifically now, and the expectation in 2050 to have the greatest impact happening. So what can we do? It's very simple. If all of us switch to a healthier, mostly plant-based diet, no matter where you are in life, you can move towards more whole foods, you can move towards more plants and less meat. And what you will see is a reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by as much as 56%. And of course, all of this has to do with the fact that the biggest driver in switching to whole foods, mostly plants, is meat consumption. So this graph illustrates that on the left-hand side under greenhouse gas emissions, looking at all of the things that we can do. And if you look at diets, diets can actually play quite a significant role in helping us achieve those outcomes. Now, what's fascinating about animal versus plant protein is if you look at wanting to make a kilogram of protein, if you use beans versus beef, well, beans will require 18 times less land, 10 times less water, 9 times less fuel, 12 times less fertilizer, and 10 times less pesticide. What about looking at water pollution? Well, 70% of all water pollution in rivers and lakes comes from, no surprise, animal farms. And 20% of overall US methane generation comes from cattle. Greenhouse gas emissions, if you look at greenhouse gas emissions, well, red meat accounts for as much as 10 to 40 times higher emissions versus plants. And if you get everyone to switch to a vegetarian diet in the United States, you could lower the greenhouse gas emissions by as much as 63%. And same thing for vegan, you'd get a little bit more. But wherever you are, you can start by reducing your consumption of meat to help the planet. So the bottom line message that I've always given is very simple, is Michael Pollan's words, which is to eat food, not too much, mostly plants. That's not only good for you, it's evidence-based, and it's good for the planet. It will help us, it will help our children, and it will be great for generations to come. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow on social media. Thanks so much for watching.